everyone. I am Judy Herman here with you today, and I would like to introduce you to one of my colleagues, Joe Follette, who is a marriage and family therapist out of Alabama. We have recently met, and he is doing a remarkable work, and we want to tell you about it. So, Joe, go ahead and say hi to everyone. Thanks
hello,
for being
everybody.
Here.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me, Judy. Glad to be here.
My pleasure. I love to have interviews. There's such energy when I have someone on that I can ask questions to, and especially connecting with another therapist that is doing some remarkable work in helping couples to heal their marriages. And you know, if you've been listening to me a lot, I'm all about beyond messy relationships and the divine invitations to your authentic self. So I think it's interesting, Joe, that you are your former life, or maybe your current life too, but you had a full-time, you were a pastor at a church, and now you're a marriage and family therapist. So tell us a little bit about that journey, what that was like for you.
Well, yeah, I got my call to the ministry at 8 years old. My father was a pastor, and I remember one day he preached a sermon, and I was taking notes at 8. Okay. And I remember coming home and saying to my parents, I'm going to be a pastor when I grow up, and these are the scriptures I'm going to use. So from that time on, I was on that path and journey to be a pastor, and through high school and college. But in college, my interest got I got interested in counseling. And I guess I found myself in a lot of coaching situations, and just loved my psychology class, my psychology teacher, and really just started looking down that direction. So I started pastoring, and my first pastorate, I had an opportunity to do some more education, work on my master's degree. So I started working on my master's degree in marriage and family therapy. Well, fast forward a few years, and I finally get my degree in marriage and family therapy, and I transitioned from pastoring to full-time marriage and family therapy. So that's kind of been my story, how I got into doing this. So now I say that my little black chair, my little brown chair, I got brown chair now, is my pulpit, and that's kind of how I share, my ministry with others by helping them heal and become whole, whether they're in a marital relationship or just individually. And I love what I do, and I'm excited to have been called to do it.
I love it. So in my practice over many years, I have worked a lot in my private practice with pastors, with leaders, with business owners and entrepreneurs. And there are some special, very difficult challenges we go through. And you all have probably heard of, those that are listening, the imposter syndrome, like when there's personal things that are going on in your life, and yet you're set up and you're this leader, right? And then we think, God forbid, if we were to be found out, and that's what it was like actually as a therapist and really loving couples work for so many years. And yet my marriages were falling apart. And so can you speak to that a little bit, maybe to pastors that are watching? And I do want to give you hope in this call today, because there's a special event coming up in September that you don't want to miss. So I'd like your strategy, or not strategy, your experience with that, and what that was like, or how you could even advise pastors that are really struggling in their marriages.
Right. Yeah, when you're a pastor, you're on the front lines, and the devil is after you, and he's after your family, he's after your marriage, and it does a lot of things to bring about discouragement. Pastoring is very stressful, and I recall, going through, marital issues while I was pastoring. In fact, it was really the key issue that caused me to resign from pastoring, because I just felt like I could no longer serve my congregation and deal with my marital situation that I had to deal with at the time. And so, I had a fallback on. I was headed to become a marriage and family therapist. So I can imagine how challenging that is for those who don't. Plus the pressure to be perfect, as a pastor, pastor's family, and oftentimes, the conference is not as sensitive and to those types of situations, and oftentimes pastors are let go when the marriages don't work out. So it's really very challenging situation for pastors. I totally understand. I felt the whole way, Judy, that God was with me and was guiding me. He told me that it was time to put in my resignation, and he just opened doors for the next step. And even through the process of that divorce, I felt like God was leading me the whole way. And that's my whole thing. It's just, just make sure that you're doing what God has told you to do, and do your best. I mean, you can't make somebody love you. You can't. Um, and of course, I know my fault in the situation. I hate to cast a shadow on my ex, but um, I have my faults in the situation too. But the key is to make sure that you're seeking the Lord and following His guidance throughout whatever situation you find yourself in, and get counseling. That's something we did. Unfortunately, in my situation, it was more of a mental health issue. That was the focus, and I don't know if it would have turned out differently if the focus had been marital.
Yeah.
But hey, here we are today.
Here we
My
are.
second marriage with 5 children now, and
Wow.
20 some years later, and the Lord is just blessed in spite of what I've had to go through.
Yeah. And I so appreciate you sharing. Here's the thing, is that we were not designed to maintain this perfection. And just really be struggling on the outside. So it is being authentic. And so many of our churches or culture or whatever, wherever you are, we get this feeling that, oh, we've got to be this. But if we can show up real and authentic, there can be a whole lot of grace with that, because we're even more approachable. We're more able to connect. People, I don't really think people are really drawn to perfect people. They're drawn to real people. So I so appreciate you sharing that. And I so, here's what you touched on, Joe, that was very profound, I believe. It takes two to be married. It takes two. And I've come across a lot of situations in which a couple will come into counseling, and it really is not a couples counseling thing, because sometimes couples counseling can actually make it worse. And so and to be able to identify, no, this is more of an individual thing that I need to be working on. And I'm part of this relationship dance. I might be I am partly co-creating the mess, right? But each of us are so responsible for our own growth, aren't we?
That's right.
And we cannot do for others, whether they have a mental health issue, whether they have a physical health thing. They are the ones that make the decision on whether they are going to be treated or not, or get help or not, or take responsibility for their well-being or not. That is so very vital. We cannot do other people's work, right?
And as a helper, as a caretaker, that's who I am, and you are. There is a tendency to take on responsibility that really is not ours to take on, and as a result find ourselves in a position of enabling behaviors and not really standing up and establishing firm boundaries. And that's where I feel like where my fault was, and I have continued to work on that, because I'm a caretaker, is to not say, hold up, wait a minute, that's not acceptable behavior. And so I think that's something that we can do for each other, even in our marriage. It says no, that's not acceptable behavior. You need to come a different way, versus arguing back, or going silent.
It can be like a ping pong game, can't it? Like this accusation, defensiveness, and then that's part of the problem, right? And standing firm in your own dignity and love. You can actually teach others how to treat you lovingly. And you can also give this energy of loving treatment also to others,
Mhm.
and especially to your spouse. And wow, you hit the nail on the head there. But we are like, there is this special thing that therapists have, that pastors have, and many empathic
Right,
women.
right,
You
right,
know,
right.
most of my people are, a lot of my people anyway, are empathic women. We do for others what really we realize. Okay, we need to stand in our truth. We need to allow this person to rise up and not get involved in the what I'll call an illusion or a delusion that we
Mhm,
can control their thoughts, their actions, their
mhm,
behaviors. You
mhm,
can't do it.
mhm.
You just can't do it. So yeah. But it is, it's like when you learn something in an area of your life, maybe early on or a few years ago, it's kind of like, so many people think, okay, I already learned that, I don't need to learn it anymore. No, it shows
Mhm.
up in other areas. It is a lifelong journey, and we can
That's right.
become more aware. So
That's right.
yeah. Tell folks what you are doing. I'm so excited about it on September the 3rd and 4th. 3rd and 4th.
Yes, I'm excited too, Judy. I have a Sizzling Hot Marriage show, a YouTube show, and I'm having a summit with 21 speakers, 21 experts are sharing their secrets to lasting love. So we're encouraging couples with good information about how to make their marriage last. And we need that information nowadays with so many marriages not lasting and everybody worrying about their marriage lasting. So if you tune in at sizzlinghotmarriageshow.com, you can register for the summit. I'm sure you'll be blessed over Labor Day weekend, whether you're barbecuing or out on the boat or whatever you're doing, listening in to these nuggets, rich nuggets for your marriage. I really believe it'll be a blessing
And
to
I'm so
whoever
excited to
tunes
be
in.
part of that, Joe. I really am. So, what would you say? Is this going to be an appropriate summit for maybe engaged couples, or maybe couples that have been living together for a long time and they're just scared to death of marriage? Or even folks that perhaps they have divorced
Mm,
and they don't believe that they could be remarried or be in a
yeah,
lasting, loving, hot, sizzling marriage, or
yeah.
even a widow, someone who's lost their spouse through death.
Mhm.
Is it for those folks as well?
Well, it's really for people who are in marital relationships.
Hmm.
And certainly that would include those who are living together or engaged. Indeed, this would be a very valuable platform forum or summit for them to attend. Obviously, those who are married and whether your marriage is great or struggling, it should be good for your marriage. Not sure how helpful it might be for a widower, but certainly, if you have your sights set on getting remarried, certainly there may be some nuggets there that you could glean from this as well.
Yeah, and where I was going with this, Joe. See, we sometimes folks will get remarried, and the same dances or the relationship
Right,
patterns show
right,
up in this other
right.
marriage. And so I didn't know if it might give hope to people who maybe even be cynical about marriage, where they could see some couples, because there's going to be couples, not just
Yeah,
individuals, not just marriage and family therapists that are going to be speaking, but there's going to be couples that are going to be sharing their stories. And so
yeah.
perhaps to get in a vision, because it's my belief that, and I think there's proverb about this, where there is no vision, the people perish. Can we get a vision beyond perhaps the pain that we're in right now with whatever status we might be in?
Yeah, I mean, there's hope. I mean, if you whatever you focus on, you cause to happen. I really
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
And so, if you want something new, you got to do something new.
Yeah.
If you want a different dance, you got to learn a different dance.
Yes.
And that's why it's important, for you to, we set these goals. We say we want this, we want that. But, like the Bible says, ask and it shall be given to you. Then it doesn't stop there. It says seek and knock,
That's right.
and so you can't just ask. You got to actually, get off your butt and do something. So yeah, you can have, it's hope for any. I mean, I take the worst of the worst marriages. It's like these folks have filed and and different situations, and so I mean I see people back in each other's arms again. I mean, if
Yeah.
you want it, you can have it.
Yeah. Love that. That's a wonderful, wonderful affirmation. We all need affirmations. And this as a therapist, especially dealing with mental health issues, in which the depression and the rumination in our minds can really make our vision very, very small. So in other words, we could have choices out there, but we don't see it. Right. We could have A, B, C, and D, but we're like a horse with blinders. We only see what's in front of us. And so to have this vision, have somebody come alongside you, and
Right.
perhaps it is a speaker, and one of the speakers, the 21 speakers that you're hosting, will help expand your vision with wherever you are. But yes, we do need that vision, don't we?
That's why it's so important to make sure you have people around you who are saying positive things. And that's why therapy and coaching, it's just it's so important, because you got someone who's feeding positivity into you. A lot of times our family, friends, people around us, oh, just leave him, he done all this to you, but I mean but if you get with people who are positive, who are encouraging, who are giving you a pathway forward, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. So yes, absolutely. So we have 21 different speakers, and certainly, you can find one or two that really resonate with you, and who really speak to you. So that's kind of the idea. It's just to, I know everybody, everybody on my list is not really interested in coming to see me, but maybe they'll see somebody who that's like, hey, you know what? I think I can relate to that person. So that's why we're doing this, because I mean, we need each other. I mean, we no man's an island.
Yeah.
And so, and marriage is hard.
It is.
So, for all of us, so no matter where you are in your stage, I believe this will be a benefit for you. Absolutely.
And even if your spouse is not watching with you,
right,
watch anyway. Okay. Right. You lead the way, and you do the next right thing. And yes, thank you so much.
It's all about knowledge. Knowledge is power, Judy. Knowledge is power. And so
it is power, and especially, you're right. You're right. And especially when you put that knowledge into practice, which becomes wisdom, which becomes your character. And so you can change the dance of your relationship. Yes. Yes. And but it does, honestly, I think you agree with me. It does take two to be married, but it may take one to watch this summit.
and it can take one to change the marriage. I mean, that's what I had to change my marriage, and I was the one.
Yeah.
So it takes two to be married, but it takes one to ruin it.
It's right. Yeah.
And it takes one to turn it around. You can turn it around by yourself. Absolutely.
And that one can invite the other. The other still needs to say, okay, I'll join you at some point, right? You agree with that, right?
Well, I mean, I've helped many marriages of one person coming into therapy because the other one wouldn't.
All right.
So, but the optimal situation is where both are willing to come and address their own issues. And that's the optimal situation.
Yes, it is the optimal. And you can still have a hot, sizzling marriage, right? You can still have a sizzling hot marriage.
That's right. That's right. Got to keep that sizzle.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm all about being your vibrantly authentic self. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining me. This has been really, and I've got the link in the feed there in the description. So
all right.
Yes. So join us on September the 3rd and 4th. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Joe.
Looking forward to your interview, Judy. Absolutely.
All right. You take care.
You too.